Hi, thanks very much for clicking on the video link. My name is Natalie Armstrong-Motin with Marketing Resolution, and today it is my privilege to be talking to Kevin Scudder. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, Natalie. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I would like to just ask you some fairly basic questions about, kind of who you are and what you do, and, give me some information about your practice, if you would, please.
I would be happy to do so. How far back do you want to go?
At your pleasure, sir.
So I'm Kevin Scudder. I am the inspiration behind the Seattle Collaborative Law Center here in Seattle, Washington. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. My dad was a legal aid attorney, or the legal aid attorney for Omaha, Nebraska. And so when I ended up in Seattle in 1984, the last thing I wanted to do was be a lawyer. I did not want to follow in my father's footsteps. I tried Army Navy surplus, tried late night chef. Then I said, okay, time to get serious here. And I started temping in law firms and realized I'm good at this work. So I went to the University of Washington School of Law here in Seattle. And then I litigated for 21 years. I litigated family law matters in the court, and basically, Natalie, did a lot of damage. You realize that, doing disputes, family disputes in a public open setting is destructive rather than constructive. So in 2008, I came across a training in collaborative practice. And one of my friends said, hey, Kevin, I think you'll really like this work. And it was a 2-day introductory training, and I had this visceral sense of coming home to the work that I was going to do for the rest of my life. I realized that I was carrying, as a litigator, I was carrying a sword and shield. And the collaborative approach to dispute resolution offered me the chance to lay down my sword and shield. It took me a year or two to finish up with the contested work. I also had kind of an epiphany of creating a collaborative law center, rather than a law firm. Open up a center that offers information to the public, trains other practitioners, and offers couples who are uncoupling a place to go, as opposed to the default of taking their disputes to court. So now all of my work is out of court, client focused, collaborative dispute resolution work.
Excellent. Well, I love that you've moved from gladiator to recovering litigator to mediator. I like that transition a lot. Who are your primary clients? Are they represented by attorneys, or are they just individuals who are able to find your services?
Yeah, well, one thing, I like your linear thinking then there. The thing I would offer to you is, I consider myself a peacemaker at this point. And you can put that on the line of evolution. So the people who come to me, to the Collaborative Law Center, are looking to not do damage in their lives any further. I'm also a trained mediator, and I give mediation trainings. So, not every case is suitable for the collaborative approach. Some people just, want me to write up their resolution and not give them legal advice. Some people want me to mediate disputes. And all of them, who come to me, know that the Collaborative Law Center doesn't do contested hearing work. And I think if you asked about 95% of the people who are in legal difficulty, whether they would want to go to court or not, 95% are going to say, no, don't want to go to court. Thank you.
I think you're exactly right. That has definitely been my experience over the last 2.5 decades. Absolutely. So when you have people come into your center and into your office, is it most often individuals who have children? Is it couples? Tell me about your most common clientele.
Oh, it's so varied, Natalie, because, you know, I go from millennials to gray divorces, and, you know, they come for information, and oftentimes I'm doing a consultation with both parties there. And, you know, the understanding is I'm not giving legal advice. I'm trying to identify with them what they're trying to achieve. You know, because people come to me in trauma. They're sad. They're, you know, been in a 35-year marriage or a 4-year marriage, and they've lost that sense of happiness. So one of the questions that I get to ask them is, I understand, you know, you're hurting right now. You're worried for the kids. You're worried for yourself. What does a happy you look like? And so I plant the seed of shifting their thinking and their way of walking in the world to give them hope. And so then when we identify those needs and interests, then we find the process, the most cost-effective, time-effective, you know, best legal process that is most likely to get them where they're going. We also, it's interesting because we also do collaborative prenuptial agreements, you know, where the traditional prenuptial agreement is, you know, Natalie, they would meet with, one person would meet with you, you would draft it up, you would send it to the other person. Well, we take a team approach, and we meet with the two attorneys and the two, you know, parties who are just about to get married, you know, and do the same exercise of identifying what it is they're trying to accomplish. And then we bring the information of the law to their situation to draft up what is needed. So we get, you know, couples who are not married, we get couples who have been married and want to do a status of property agreement. You know, we get mediations, and it's all peacemaking work. And the big difference, I think, Natalie, is I no longer carry the burden of making a decision for my clients as to whether a deal is a good deal. My job is to get them information, create a safe place for that information to be gathered, and let them make the decision. So I'm ending up with a lot more durable agreements. I don't have repeat clients like I did when I was a litigator, because they didn't like what happened in court, and they would come back to me and keep trying to fix what ails them, which was never going to happen. So.
But I mean, it seems like such an obvious solution to let the actual parties, the people who are in the situation, the people who know the circumstances, the people who know all the battles that they've been fighting, they get to determine their own destiny.
They do, and the thing is that we give them permission to do so, because too often couples are going to be engaged in the same arguments time and time again. And when we're witnessing, or when I'm witnessing these arguments, I get to say, hey, may I interrupt? And they look at me and they're flushed and they're flooded. And I say, I think you've had this argument before, haven't you? And they nod, and I look at the one partner, I say, and you could fill in what he is going to say next, right? And then I get to ask them, how do you think it would feel to not have to enter into this argument anymore? And they agree that, you know what, it would feel great. And then we move them along. It's a fascinating process.
Well, and it's like you started our conversation, it's got to be so much more fulfilling for you to be on this end of the conversation than on the other end. I'm so glad that you found your way to Peacemaker, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you. My spouse indicated to me that she did not realize how painful it was for me to put on my suit and tie every morning and go to battle. And it's just not possible, you know, for her to know, but it was painful. So now, Natalie, I wish you were here, because I would share one of my mugs that I drink my coffee from.
Peacemaking, let it begin with me. Love it. I love it. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for sharing a couple of your busy minutes with me. I really appreciate it. And I really, really appreciate it. And I know that, you know, all of your neighbors in the greater Seattle area appreciate too the good work that you do to help us move up, move forward.
Natalie, wonderful spending some time with you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too.